Dude, no, this is like dope equipment.
Yeah. Let me top you off here, bro.
Oh, you gotta get yourself too.
Yeah, I'm good.
Don't just finish it. Okay.
There we go.
I guess this is how he treats his guests.
Yeah, hospitality, you know? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Amit Darji Show, episode number 2. I got an exciting guest here.
What's up, guys?
Dr. Darji.
What's up,
DMD. Guy's been fixing teeth, drilling root canals and everything, huh?
It's exciting. It's a good career.
I bet.
It's a good career. I'll put it that way.
So tell us, introduce yourself, man. Tell us a little about yourself.
First of all, thanks for having me.
Of course, bro.
This is a super exciting thing. I wholeheartedly. I guess you guys can figure that Amit's actually my cousin, and you know.
But that was supposed to be a surprise drop later, but
you can
there's other people that have Dr. Nah, I'm messing with you, man.
Amit's actually one of my older cousins, older brothers. So this is actually really exciting to be a part of this. I mean, I'm one of the first few guests, and I'm actually really excited. This is a really, really cool thing. I'm a dentist. I've been a dentist for about 5 years. Got done dental school in 2016, and you know, I think one of the main things to think about, you know, especially being where I'm at now, is to look back and reflect on like the lack of financial education that even came up. Nothing happened, and you go through it, and you're like, cool, I'm done now. What do I do? And there's no conversation. There's no help. And you know, you got to fend for yourself. And this is where Amit has really come in and helped me out quite a bit. It's been a cool ride so far, and I'm just excited to see where it goes, man.
Absolutely, bro. Yeah. Just had a baby, right?
Yeah. I got a 6-month-old now.
That's right, man.
He's a good kid, Rohan. He's a very good kid. Actually, right before we got started, he was trying his first bite of green peas, so I think he liked it.
Pretty soon he'll be eating regular food like crazy. We'll be having to make runs all non-stop to the supermarket, man. But no, I'm excited to have you on. So guys, we're gonna be talking about private lending. And what it means, how to protect yourself, right? From a documentation perspective, how to have legal representation. Disclaimer, we are not attorneys. We are not giving you legal advice. We encourage you, we actually should make you go get legal advice before you jump into any type of real estate transaction. Disclaimer's over. Now you have to go out and go crush it. But no, we want to talk about private lending. So Raj has been lending in deals and transactions that we've been doing. So he kind of got his feet wet, and what I've found, or at least what he's found, is, you know, having this full-time job and a career as a dentist, you know, let's just be real, he's a high earner. But he's trying to figure out how to deploy those funds and make those funds work for him. So that's what we're gonna talk about. We wanna educate you guys, help you, so you guys don't make some of the mistakes that he made outside of me, okay? So we're gonna talk about those.
Hey, it happens.
Of course it happens, man.
When you start doing these things, it happens. It's part of the risk.
100%. It definitely happens, but if we can minimize risk and unnecessary situations, that's what this entire show is about. Yeah. So, how long did you go to school, bro, to become a dentist?
I got lucky in the sense that I was able to go from high school, college, and straight to dental school. There's a lot of people that will struggle to get into dental school. I just got lucky, and it's been a pretty crazy ride. So it took 8 years and then 1 year of residency. Again, throughout the entire process, you just kind of go through and think about, well, okay, well, this is my plan. I'm going to become a dentist, and that's it. And you don't consider what other opportunities there might be. Yeah. And it isn't until you get out and you start considering, like, dude, hold on, like, I have a family now, I have a wife, and now I have a kid. I want to spend more time with them. Like, how is this possible? Because as of right now, yeah, being a doctor, being a lawyer, being an engineer, whatever, in some of these positions, you don't end up gaining the freedom that you're looking for. Yeah. You end up gaining money, which is fine, right? But the time costs you money. Yeah.
Would you say that's one of the reasons why you were looking as real estate as an outlet to deploy your funds so that you can generate additional income to potentially free up some time?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, right? I mean, in our circumstance, in our situation, it's been very, very good and very successful. And I'm only just saying that because of my interactions with Amit. You know, it's been very flawless in how things go, and you know, now we've gotten to the point where we say, yo, I need such and such. I'm like, cool, I'll get it to you next day. It's just because of that trust level now. Yeah,
I want to pause you there for a second. Yes, we have a built up trust level. Obviously we're family, right? He's my cousin, but I still treat it as business. What do I mean by that? The documentation that I do with my attorneys for any of my private lenders, we do it the same across the board. For example, before you can even think about investing with me or him, you have to take a educational course. Either him or I get on the call and teach it, because we want to make sure that you're educated. And the premise behind it is we start off by telling the would-be investor, when you're listening to us, you need to think about the worst case situation. It's great to want to invest, it's great to want to make money, but you got to protect your behind. Obviously, we're trying to do the course and teach you guys, the educational class, to help you guys realize what's all at stake and the types of documentation that goes into it. And we're going to dig into that a little bit. But yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, no, so I mean, going back to your question of where did this come up, or where did this inspiration come from to consider other things, maybe about 2 years ago, Amit and I had a conversation around Christmas time. At the same time, I had read a post from another dentist who had started talking about how he's going to retire by the age of 32. Now, of course, that's an eye grabber, and he's actually a very good guy, and I've been able to. He's mentored me through a lot too. During that time, so I read this post, and then it just so happened that him and I had met up for Christmas that year, and I mentioned it to him, and he's like, "Dude, I'm in it now. You know, I just decided to take on these drastic life changes to reach these goals, and this is part of my goals." And I'm like, "All right, well, cool." I mean, at the very least, his energy about the topic ended up really inspiring me to get, jump into it. But the idea here is that when you take that high income and you don't know where to put it, you can put it into these, other things like stocks, index funds, mutual funds, your 401k.
Savings accounts is not the way to go. You're getting like 0.01% or something.
I think I just checked it today. It was like in a savings.
Listen,
if you
like earning 35%, 35 cents interest a year, man, go for it.
Look, it's safe. All right, it's safe.
So there's a saying, right? Bruce Arians, Tampa Bay Bucks head coach, he said it in a press conference. No risk it, no biscuit. You gotta go play.
Yeah,
you gotta take action.
I mean, the other thing is that, like, considering my personal situation, yes, I have a family, I have a newborn child and everything.
He has a wife too, just
yes, so I do. I didn't just find a kid or have a kid somewhere.
Just so we're clear,
Yeah. Otherwise, she's gonna.
Big props to Esha.
Yeah, she's gonna come here and kick my ass. But these things were calculated decisions to be made and to be able to get involved, and it was scary as shit the first time. It was very scary because up until that point, the only other thing that I had spent a lot of money on was my wedding, which to my wife, the ROI was infinite for what we paid for it. Not so much fun. Regardless, I think that all of this just comes down to how can you spend more time with people that matter to you. How can you enjoy doing those experiences that matter to you and enjoy them without the worry of, oh, I have to do this or this and I can't do X or Y or Z to be able to do this. And I think that is that's the mindset with which I said, you know what, I don't know exactly how this is going to go, but I don't know if Amit made this up or where he got it from, but it's been something that, like, I've told many people, and I credit him for it because it's fair, right? Because I heard it from him. But he basically said he's on a flight where the plane isn't built yet. I mean, to think about that level of, like, gutsiness, right? It's going and saying, all right, you know what? I can't see the next step in this dark room. I can't see what the next step is. I have a headline on that shows me what the next step is, but I can't see the step beyond that. And to say, well, okay, I can take this step, and then I'll find out what happens next. And then I'll find out what happens next. And then I'll find out what happens next. That sort of mentality really is like just overwhelming kind of inspiration that you get.
But I mean, it's something like, you know, this kind of goes to the part of empowering, right? Like we have the 3 E's in our podcast: educate, empower, enrich. Part of empowering is knowing that you have people and resources around you to help you. Like, you know, this podcast is just not something you listen to. You can definitely reach out to me or Raj for advice and understanding of things, but a lot of it is being imaginative and just going after it. And I think part of this private lending for a lot of people, you know, being an investor is that, right? It's something a lot of people don't do, or maybe not even know about, or how to get into. And
I didn't.
Right.
I mean, I had no idea. And before him and I talked, he might not even known about this, right? I mean, this is something that kind of came up as we learned more about real estate, and that how big of a factor this ends up playing in these, you know, how much value you can provide to not only yourself and your team, but to other people by doing things like this, by offering these opportunities. Because you can buy stock, right? You can buy stock all day, but you have no idea how these things are going to go, where it's going to go, blah, blah, blah. But this is an opportunity where you have some control over what's happening.
Absolutely, man. So him being a high earner, obviously he's looking to deploy those funds. Talk about some of your experiences that you've had in lending.
Yeah, one of my first experiences was with Amit. Now, you know, for one of the first ones that we had, I think it was like maybe 55 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 55,000.
Yeah. Now, for me, like I said, I had never put that much out into the universe before. It's just not who I am. It's not I'm not a risk taker in general, right? It's just, this was something that I said, you know what? After having read and learned about this for X amount of time, there's got to be something to this. So this was the step of faith that I decided to take and jump into this entire space. He put me through that education that he had, you know, the education that we talk about. He put me through that education, helped me understand these are the things to look out for. This is what you want. This is what the goal is. And though we are cousins, this is a very separate transaction that's happening outside of family. So as long as you know that this is what it comes down to, these are the things you got to understand. And if you want to do this, then I would love to offer this opportunity to you. So at that point I said, you know what? You go through and you say, you know what? I don't have I have knowledge now. I have knowledge of how this thing works, but there still takes a leap of faith to be able to jump into it and say, hey, here you go, right? Like I know at this point what it took for me to earn that, right? Like it took me time, you know, whatever, it took me time, effort, you know, school education, right? You know, all of that investment is now led me to be able to have this, and now where am I taking this opportunity and pushing it on forward? So that's where this whole thing really kind of was born, and then we decided to move on to these other things. So my experiences so far, I would say, you know, I wouldn't say everything's been perfect, but
we're gonna get into
we'll get into that
bad experience.
We'll get into that, and I think that it's only fair that we share this with you too, because
it'll help save you.
It'll help. Yeah, I mean, this is
60 G's.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into that for sure.
This is something that it's not easy for me to talk about, of course, but I think in the sake of education, I think that we should definitely dive into it a little bit.
Yeah.
So that first experience was very legitimate. Here are the documents that we need. Here are the things that we need to be able to set up. Here's how and what project will be funded. Here's how the project will be funded. Here's, you know, the position that I'm in. Here's, you know, all of these different steps that go into it were very clearly outlined, and we said, okay, look, this is why, because if this happens with you, now this becomes a reproducible system, and now, you know, we have a checklist for every step of that way. So, you know, my experiences with Amit have been great, and I'm not saying that because he's my cousin. I'm saying that because when you look back at our track record, that's what it's been. Yeah. And it's been on time, as we discussed, you know, I mean, that whole thing. Now, I think that it's super important to vet your investor, and I think that we'll kind of go into that topic.
Yeah, I mean, let's just dive into that, right? So vetting the investor. Listen, you gotta be able to trust this person. So like vetting the investor that you're going to lend to. Listen, one word comes to my mind: trust. If you cannot trust that investor, don't invest. Don't deploy your money to someone that you do not trust. I know it's exciting. I know when you do the math, like, hey, if I invest 100,000 and he gives me 10% in 6 months, I'm gonna get $10,000 plus my principal amount back, yeah. 100,000. So in 6 months I made 10,000. It sounds really good. And yes, you don't have hands-on work to do to make the $10,000, but you need to gauge and truly understand who you are lending to. Here's a few things that I would ask for. You want to ask for ALTA, A-L-T-A statements. What are those? Those are essentially closing documents. You want to ask them like, hey, provide me your past 12 months of ALTAs with your LLC that I'm going to fund. It's going to show you if they can provide it. It's going to tell you how many transactions that they have done, and you'll be able to see if they actually performed on it. If you ask for it and they can't give you anything, I'm not saying they're a bad investor, but they haven't done any deals. Are you comfortable with deploying $100,000 if that's what you're going to give up in a deal to someone that hasn't done any deals, right? I mean, you have to think about those things. You know, the investor might come back and say, well, you know, I'm just looking for my start. Fine. If that investor is looking for their start, then you need to maybe bring in a project manager who can oversee them so that you know that, hey, they're moving the project along and that your money is going to be brought back out. So that's something you want to think about. So ALTA statements are super important.
Does ALTA stand for anything?
Guys, right here, this is what ALTA stands for. You got to vet the investor. So ALTA part, you know, that documentation is important. You want to see that they're actually doing deals. Definitely get that.
To add to that, I think that, one thing that Amit mentioned is trust. I think trust can be there, right? But I think that you also need to look at how business is conducted, right? But I think that is a main feature of a good investor, is when you have somebody who is you have trust with, because, you know, from whatever relationship you might have with them. The trust is definitely important, but how they conduct business, something like the ALTA can give you a track record or some sort of idea of how this person has performed. It gives you some sort of like success rate. It's the same as when people come in and say, oh, well, how many root canals have you done? How many crowns have you done? It's like, I've done this number. Now, you know, some people go based off of my years in practice, right? I mean, everyone has the right to judge whoever they want, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. But regardless, it says, you know, I trust this person, and then I also trust their track record with these things. I trust that this person is having integrity, right? Yeah. That this person is being very transparent about things. I mean, I think that a lot relates between the private lender and someone who takes care of you, right? Healthcare. The person who provides you with transparency and says, look, this treatment otherwise would be great, but for you, I don't think it's a great idea because of X, Y, and Z. I mean, at least what I've found in my career so far is that the integrity level that I build with this person now, next time I tell them, look, I think that this is the right treatment for you, they believe me because I also told them that this was not the right treatment. So that level of trust comes up when you build that relationship.
Yeah, you got to have that trust. And a lot of times, you know, when you're looking to invest, ask people in your work. I'm pretty sure somebody in your sphere of influence, you know, your family, your friends, or your colleagues, someone is involved in real estate. Ask, right? When you can get referred to somebody, it's one of the best ways. Like Raj is he's a dentist, right? So he's a doctor. So his colleagues and his affiliations and his network is majority in that space. So Raj does a lot of networking, right? So then what he does is hey, I'm having a great experience with so-and-so. If you're looking at doing something that might be positive, that you're trying to build for you and your family, that's kind of how you want to start getting into the game. So yeah, trust is super important. I'd say next, I found that documentation, legal representation has been massively important.
Yes, I agree.
What I found is, like, talking with other investors who are investing their money, sometimes, you know, spending $1,200-$1,500 on an attorney is well worth it because they'll properly represent you and you know that your money that you're going to deploy is protected.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about protection. Like Rod said in the beginning, you worked hard for that money. Don't just throw it away. Like, I would not accept everybody's money. Like, for example, if Raj only had $50,000 and he needed that to take care of his family, by me asking him those questions in our interview, he's not allowed to invest with me. Why? Because he's putting all his funds at stake, right? So
my livelihood, right?
Exactly. I mean, like, this is how he takes care of his wife and his children.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't need him to stress out. Like, maybe 10,000 or 5,000 might be probably better off, right? Like, I'm not a big fan of gambling on people's money. When I
also vet the deals.
Yeah, you gotta vet the deal. You gotta vet the person.
And DeRisk, like, and
100%.
about it. But yeah, the whole DeRisk factor of it too is an added
component to it.
Component when you think about who you're meeting with, who you're working with.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that keeping in mind that this is a business, right? That like, yes, even though you're a single person, you're not a venture capitalist or something like that. You're not like one of those major corporations, right? But the thing is that at the end of the day, you work for the money. And you want to make sure that you're protected and that where you're going and what you're doing is going to come back around, because that was the agreement, right? I mean, that's what you had originally discussed. But yeah, I mean, adding to Amit's point about, not everyone can be an investor. You got to make sure that home is okay.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you're not positioned to invest now, that's perfectly fine. Just go underneath somebody's wings and learn. Like, what are they doing? How are they investing? How are they deploying their money? It's definitely important, right? So,
or bring them opportunities.
Yeah, be a value add.
Yeah, starting off by helping someone else, by creating value for someone else. How can that translate for you? I mean, there are ways to build those things in and for you to at least get the experience, right? Because once you have the experience, you can now fish for yourself. You don't have to. You don't have to. You're not given a fish. I mean, this is something that just by being around those people, you're gaining way more knowledge and experience than you would have outside of that, right? I mean, it's just a matter of talking. This has happened with multiple friends of mine just because of, our relationship.
Yeah.
And it's so weird how that happens, but these things can happen very easily. It's just a matter of ask the question. You never know what's going to come.
Exactly. I mean, just to kind of piggyback on what you said about his friends and his associates, he's told his friends and his associates a great experience that he's having, investing in Darji Capital. Literally 100% success rate. And here's a little bit of reason why. I do not allow any private lender to deploy their funds unless the project has been de-risked. What do I mean by de-risk, right? So there's a propensity of risk. It could be high, it could be low, it could be moderate. I generally have not ever brought in any private lender where there's a high risk. So I deploy my own funds where the risk is super high because I want the private investor to have a great experience. And investing is a risk, sure, but I feel more comfortable knowing that, hey, this asset is gonna flow and be stable and your money's gonna be protected. Because there's a why as to why you want to invest your money. Maybe, as Raj talked about, he wants to buy back more time. That's my goal.
Yeah.
He wants to buy back more time so he can have it with his wife and his children to be able to create some more memories.
How many of us want that? That's what we all want, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. Now having a kid at the age of 31, this is something that's like blindsided me as to how much my love and dedication goes to this guy and to my wife. Just so if she's listening, then I don't want this to get me in trouble. But yeah, I mean, this is what it all comes down to. So I mean, this is where you start thinking about what are my opportunities and what's out there in the world. I mean, sometimes the only thing that you need to do is ask and talk about it, right? Yeah, once you start doing those two things, I do this regularly at my practice, by the way. I do this regularly. I'll go, anyone that comes in, I always ask them, what do you do? Right? What do you do for work? What do you do for this, that, whatever? So many of the patients that come in have done something or another, and that conversation can kind of just go from there. I mean, there have been patients of mine that we've collectively met on. Because these people are in that space, and connecting with these people is an amazing thing. So I mean, one thing I would encourage listeners or whoever I would encourage to do would be, don't be shy to ask the question, even though you feel like you might not be in that space.
Yeah, man.
Right? I mean,
100%.
Because sometimes we can feel like we don't belong in that space. But once you bring it out and you talk about it and you say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, this is what's on my mind. It's a weird thing, but the real estate space is a very abundant space.
100%, man. 100%.
People are very willing to not only share their experiences, but also willing to teach you things, right?
Yeah.
Willing to teach you things that might cost you years or hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn. Is just to go and just have conversations with people. You never know where these conversations will go.
I agree.
That happens to me on a daily basis, and I learn one amazing thing from a patient almost every day that I'm at the office.
No, 100%, man. I couldn't disagree. I couldn't agree with you anymore. Excuse me. So you used the word during our conversation about protection, right? positions. Let's dig into that a little bit, right? Because this is going to be important as to how you as a private investor can protect your asset. So positions means in real estate, in terms of what we're talking about, first position, second position, so on and so forth. What it means is that what number do you have, what ticket number do you have that God forbid the investor did not perform and return your money to foreclose on that property? Are you first in line? Are you second in line? Third? Whatever the case may be. And there is a mathematical rule to kind of figure that out. So LTV, loan to value. So when you're investing with investors, they're usually acquiring properties that need rehab, right? Needs work. Or I mean, it could be turnkey as well.
Yeah, or syndication.
Exactly.
Whatever,
that's a whole other gamut of.
That's a very different.
Yeah, that's for another.
That's another episode.
But no, so you want to protect your money by evaluating the deal. So loan to value, LTV. There's an as is, right? So if the home needs work, what is the current value? Like, what could it be sold for in the dilapidated state that it's in? So we'll just use some easy numbers. Let's say the value is $100,000 in the as-is condition. The general rule of thumb is you don't want to invest no more than 80% of that value. So 80% of 100,000 is 80,000. What does that mean? That means that God forbid you had to foreclose the investor or the flipper, whoever it is, and you had to take on this property. You know that based on your mathematical calculation prior to investing, it could sell on the market for $100,000. So if you invest 80,000, you know you can list it for 100, pay commissions, pay closing costs. Let's say that's about 20,000. And left over out of that 100 after the subtraction of 20 is 80,000. That means at the end of the day, you'll get your money back. So it's very important.
And you as an investor also have the choice, right? I mean, it's up to you what you want to, the LTV and the mathematical formula Amit's talking about. That's subject to whatever you think, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
If you say, you know what,
I want to be at 50% of that. You know, I'm only comfortable with investing 50,000,
and that's totally fine. But at least he's giving you, Amit's at least giving you some context to how to calculate what your risk level is, because now you say, all right, this is my risk level. This is potentially where I would be. This is potentially what I'd have to do. I mean, so now you have an understanding of this is where I fit into this particular project.
So now let's go back to the concept of positions, right? So if you're in first position, and let's say you lended the 80,000, that means you have the first right to foreclose that person and extract your $80,000. Now let's say this investor gulled somebody else to invest another 20,000, right? So if that property could only be sold for 100,000, knowing that 20,000 is going towards closing costs, agents, and whatever other expenses. If another person who was in second position invested 20,000, the likelihood of that person recouping any money is slim to none. So evaluating the deal is extremely important. So as a investor, I highly recommend that you get a real estate agent or a broker who can evaluate that deal for you. What they'll do is they'll run a comparative market analysis, a CMA, and they'll tell you like, hey, investor A, you want to invest 90,000, but if you do that, there's a potential you could lose $10,000 because the loan to value, and then based on your risk factor of just, you know, industry practices to ensure that you recoup your money, 80,000 is probably the maximum you want to invest into this deal. So definitely reach out to local investors in that area where that deal is being acquired, and they'll be able to give you a good mathematical value for that house. I think that's something that we do, right? Like you know, what I do with Raj is I give him like a one-page, I call it a one-page teaser. It's a presentation, a breakdown. It gives you a lot
of the information.
Yeah, it gives you information.
Once you've understood what the terms are and what this is and what that is, once you understand the term sheet, now you understand, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what my return is, this is how long it's going to take, this is what, you know, blah, 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 all these different things. Once you understand those things, maybe it's worth having another episode where you kind of just go through one of those, right? You're
I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm dropping a webinar, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're plug. We're going to be doing a weekly webinar. It's strictly educational. The whole point of that webinar is going to be, come on, bring yourself, bring your family, your friends, colleagues, whoever, bring them on. Just so you know right now, there's no pitch. You're not gonna like you know, sign up for a $1,000 3-hour class or something. No, I'm literally doing this for free.
Those get so exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, like there's nothing there's no like, you know, going to be a pitch at the end. Just
or this course that you now have.
Yeah, just come, listen, keep coming to this episode, to this webinar, and just keep learning, and then ask questions. When you're in the webinar, ask questions so that you can become comfortable investing in real estate. Doesn't have to be with me.
Yeah, wherever you go, right? I mean, I think the whole purpose of this show is to just educate people and say, hey, you're a normal person. You go to a 9 to 5, right? Like I go to a 9 to 5 or whatever my hours are. How do I do this?
Whatever his hours are.
Yeah, which is a separate thing. But however this plays out, right? Like how do I now at least understand what you're talking about? Like, how do I at least understand what you're referring to? What is a CMA? I didn't know. You know, what's a CMA? Well, we still got to figure out what an ALTA is. But
well, I you know, my editor is going to put what a ALTA is. You know what? Let me look it up right now. As long as I've been doing all that, you know what I mean? I should.
You know what the document is, though. You know why.
Oh, of course I know the document.
All that shit. So, but you know, I think that there's, you know, I think just having that basic knowledge, right? I think can unlock so many potential opportunities for yourself.
American Land Title Association.
Oh, that's what ALTA stands for.
Is a trade association representing the title insurance industry. There we go.
There you go. Like you said, that particular document, that association's document is what you then take and say, all right, this investor has had this many.
Yeah.
This is his track record. This
Those
has
are your
given me a
closing
statement.
docs. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
You're gonna have.
So are HUDs part of that?
Exactly, that's the same thing.
So what is a HUD?
Same
thing, right? So that's all. A HUD is your home settlement document,
exactly.
right? Like things like that. Okay. Yeah. We're also in that age of opportunity where millions of people have channels like a podcast or YouTube or even Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and want to put out content because and they want to bring value to people that are part of this, right? So I mean, it's just a matter of how much value can you bring to somebody because of how much that might, you never know, right? You just never know who that might touch.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact of aligning with people who have similar viewpoints as me. Like my number one viewpoint when analyzing a deal is the simple question: does it help me buy back my time? That's all I care about. Right? Like I don't care about the money. Like the money's obviously important. Like I don't want to be running red. I want to be green. I want to make money.
Right.
Does it help me buy back my time? Like, or does it, hey, I gotta put a crap ton of time into it. Like I gotta be super involved for the entire legacy of this project. The answer is no, man. Like, you know, I'm okay with putting in work, you know, rolling up my sleeves and getting to work in the beginning, getting the asset stabilized and getting it to a point where it can run. Yeah. That's perfectly fine. I don't want to have to roll up my sleeves for 30 years to manage that project. And that's why private investing is important, because it helps you while you are doing your 9 to 5 or sleeping or partying, hanging out with your kids, hanging out with your family.
Yeah, going on vacations,
whatever you're doing.
Things that are important to it.
That money is working for you while you're sleeping, whatever you're doing. That is the power of private investing, especially in real estate. Here's another thing, and I'm not gonna get too deep into it, and I'll teach it in the webinar, but guess what? You may be such a high income earner that you can ask the investor, like, hey man, look, I need the depreciation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, so what I do as an investor is I might not need that much depreciation for my taxes. I'll pass it off. It's a pass-through depreciation to my investor. Now, look at it from this way. They invested money. They earned a nice interest on it. They earned probably a preferred payment on it. And now they get the benefit of tax write-off?
Yeah.
Bro, I mean, it's like a slam dunk.
Yeah, those are
Grand slam? However you want to call it.
Yeah, right? I mean, those are those four, the four things that come up with real estate. Now, you know, for people like myself, and I'm not gloating, I'm just saying that when we get hit into these different tax brackets, you're like, shit, I didn't do anything, and I lost X amount. Not lost, but I paid.
No, he lost it. He paid that shit to Uncle Sam.
I paid my country its service for what it's due.
Service, bro. Sidebar? None of that shit's going to our military, man.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean?
You're fair.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, you're fair.
But I don't want to get too political on this podcast, but if I have to, I will.
No, but
God bless the people that are serving.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, seriously. I mean, there's the freedoms that we have here
absolutely
are dedicated to you guys. But when you take that, right, when you say, okay, I made X amount this year, and I would love to take this money and put it somewhere, how many ways can I benefit from this? I mean, when you think about it, at least I personally don't know of these different vehicles that allow you to have all these different tax depreciations that also go along with what this is. I mean,
yeah.
Crypto, right? Crypto's a straight up, it's the same as stocks. I mean, you put in and get whatever, and you can earn higher interest, but you ultimately have no tax deductions that come along with it.
Right.
Right? So it's, I mean, it's something that in situations like this, as you start to roll in, I mean, there's so many ways that can benefit you, not just what your investment of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it might be, whatever is comfortable for you, but how investing 20 gives you 2,000, 3,000 in tax write-offs. Well, you just earned 2,000 right there, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's just how that situation works out.
So I mean, you get a great.
Again, talk to your own accountant and figure out how that works for you.
Right? Like,
figure out how that works for you. But I'm just saying that this is now an opportunity. Yeah, this ends up being an opportunity.
But definitely, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities and doors that open up, right? Real estate investing, like getting involved in it is listen, there's a lot of things that happen, crypto, this, that, and the other. But one of the things that are stable, reliable, is real estate. And if you can get yourself involved into it, get around people, it's one of the best decisions you can make. I guess that, like, you know, I always ask my investors the why. Why do you want to invest? And I care more about that, because then I structure strategies and find and present deals and opportunities based off of your why. Perhaps a lot of investors won't go that far, but I will. I think it's important because my why matters to me so much that I'm willing to go make a living for it. So if somebody else can tell me their why and I can help them, then man, like, listen.
I mean, the value that alone brings, right?
Exactly. I mean, like, I don't want to be.
There's purpose.
I mean, the other way I look at it is this: like, I don't want to be the only multi-billionaire with a yacht and a plane and this and that. Like, why can't I have my fellow friends and investors and people around me to enjoy the same things?
Was it a rising tide raises all ships?
Exactly,
right?
bro. I mean, like that's the goal here. Like that. So before you start deploying that money, figure out your why. If you don't have a why, the reason why you're going to give that money, don't do it. Because when you have a why, you'll care about why you're deploying that money. You're gonna ask the right questions, even if they're uncomfortable, right? I mean, I'm a true believer. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Yeah.
Like, society has kind of blurred us with the fact that, hey, that was dumb. No, there's nothing dumb. Just ask so you have a peace of mind. So 100%, right? This is all revolved around the concept of trust, integrity, transparency, to the point where, like, I bring my investors to the job site. Not when it's like heavy duty construction, because obviously I don't want somebody to get hurt. But yeah, I mean, I want my investors to see that I'm actually here. Like, I'm actually, you know, this is my project. This is what I'm doing.
To some degree, I mean, as the private investor, right, you're trying to learn, right? Because you know, your goal may include also doing real estate, and this may be your in, right? Like, this may be your step in the door, at least, to understand how some of these transactions work, what the documents are, how the legality of it works, right? I mean, this could be, these are aspects of it that Amit and I walked through with our first deal. And that was something that helped me understand, cool, well, okay, now I have more knowledge than I had previously. I didn't, you know, I mean, now from there, now I'm actually taking on my own projects, because I'm like, you know, the things that I've learned from my own experiences, and now said, all right, I see the potential of this and I feel comfortable enough. Again, I'm on a plane where it's not built yet, but
take off.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much to action. The question becomes, if I never take off, what happens?
Yeah, there's no destination, right? Like, if you don't go, there's no end to that, right?
No,
so,
you don't know what's in front of you, right? I mean, you just don't know. And how long are you comfortable with that particular idea? How long are you comfortable with that? And if you are, then that's fine, right? Nobody's saying that you have to change or do anything else. But if you ask yourself the question of, have I ever really asked myself what I wanted? Like, have I ever really taken the time to ask myself? Because I've been on that question for 2 years. I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
And it's a very tough question to ask, especially when you get to, you know, at least from when you look at me as a member of society. He's a doctor. He's gotten to the point where he's gonna be fine if he chose to just do this for the rest of his life. He'll be fine.
But you know what? Some of the answers that I've got on the back end, like, so you say you're 31, right? So you're super early in your career, right? Like, the back end, the guys and gals that are 60, 65, some of the responses that I get is, man, I wish I would have met you in these types of situations
earlier. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, high earning people, it doesn't have to be high earning. I mean, listen, I know people who make $50,000 a year and are phenomenal with their money to the point where they've got hundreds of thousands of dollars saved, right? But the point of it is, man, I wish I would have been able to deploy my money earlier so that now that I'm 60, 65 plus, I can enjoy more of the things that I want to do.
Yeah, or just feel more comfortable in my life, right? I mean, if one of my grandchildren or this or that say, hey, I want this or I want that, right? I mean, the answer becomes a lot easier to say yes.
Yeah.
Not that you want to, I mean, not that I personally promote just, you know, going and giving your kids everything. I don't think that that's necessarily helpful, but I think that when that time comes and you say, you know what, I have health issues, I have this, that, the other, and now I'm at a point where I really need some help, Lord.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you know, at this point, you have the opportunity to make those changes wherever and whoever you choose to go to invest with, right? I mean, that's the point, is that wherever you go, at least just take some basic knowledge and say, okay, I understand the general lingo. I honestly, I mean, I think that we're going to have to like have another episode that's very focused on just the process of how that works.
I mean,
right? Like how
listen,
you can go through and
we're going to do a lot of testimonials and things like that. So, you know, Raj coming on is two factors. High income earner, how do I invest my money? And some of the experiences that he has, right? So we've talked about, you know, your transition from just still being a full-time DMD, a dentist, finding avenues and opportunities to invest in real estate. We talked about protection, right? We talked about, hey, how do you protect the money that you're going to deploy, right? We talked about spending the money on legal representation, what type of position you're going to be based on the assets loan to value, right? We've talked about the opportunity, how you find the opportunities by networking with people and getting around like-minded folks to help you kind of grow and become that. Another thing that we talked about is the why. You know, like, hey, why am I choosing, or why am I deciding, hey, I need to do something with this money that I have sitting around. I need to really deploy this to make it worthwhile, right? We talked about buying back time. I'd probably bet my entire portfolio that everybody has a desire to buy back their time.
Yeah.
Like
buy back time, buy back like the
freedom, bro. It's freedom.
Who was it? It was Tim Bratz. I saw something from him today, and he basically said, like, I'm surprised at how many adults, meaning 18 plus, 30 plus, whatever that is, right? 40, 50, whatever that number is, whatever the age group is. And he said, like, I'm surprised at how many people are willing to listen to someone else to say, you have to be at work today. If you're not at work today, like, you can't go to the bathroom yet. What are you doing?
Yeah, man.
I mean, like, that's a crazy thought. Not that everyone is going to take that risk and become a full-time investor, because that also takes a lot of risk and all the other stuff, and that may eventually be within your mindset. But, you know, that level of willingness to just listen to someone else. I mean, how long do you want that to last? How long do you want to say, okay, well, if my boss wants me to, how long am I okay with doing this?
Let me give you a perfect example, right? So my background is pharmaceuticals. So I came in the industry as a chemist, I got connected with a really phenomenal CEO who helped me transition to the business side of pharma, and I grew like exponentially, right? Like, I mean, I went from 55K salary to 6 figures in a matter of 18 months.
Wow.
Like, literally in a matter of
I knew this.
Yeah, literally in a matter of 18 months, I went to 6 figures because of the instructions that this gentleman gave me.
I think the one thing that shows real quick is that people are willing to mentor, right? Like, no one wants something in return, but people are willing to mentor. If you show who you are, if you prove what you're looking to do, if you put your message out there, people are willing to help you. People will help you. It's just a matter of, hey, I mean, I feel the same way. Other guys in my space, I mean, there are plenty of associates and other people that are coming out, you know, these new dentists that don't know what to do. I hope that this message may come across to them, right?
Yeah.
Say, hey, look, reach out to us and say, hey, what can I do? I'm confused about this, that, or the other. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to make sure that...
It's a great example. And what I learned, so, you know, I got to high income earner and all that great stuff in pharma, but I was losing my time. And just to kind of wrap that story up, I've taken more vacations this year with my wife and my children without having to ask anybody for permission. I mean, I've taken 4 vacations this year. Now, I know many people probably take more that are entrepreneurs, etc. But I know for 100%, no one in the general W-2 industry is taking more vacations. Having the opportunity to travel with my wife and my kids has been phenomenal, man. Like creating memories.
What that might translate to a private investor, right? Because you're a full-time investor.
Yeah, so here, I'll give you an example as a private investor. Let's just ask. I don't know if you know the answer right now or not, but I'm going to put you on the spot. From, I think we started investing last year in November.
Yeah.
We're back in November, or December now. How much have you made? You know? And guys, it doesn't have to be like massive. Like,
it really doesn't, right? Because
do you know what you've made?
So,
average ballpark?
Probably about 16.
Guys, I mean, that's 6.
This is truly passive, right? I mean, I mean, it took time to vet the deal.
Okay,
and I trusted
so
you know what I mean. But
define your length of time to vet. How much time did you spend? Let's put this into perspective for would-be investors. How much time did it take you to vet the deal?
So the first one I would say, going through. I mean, you know, I think that, you know, him being my cousin, not saying that solves everything, right? Because again, we tried to treat this as much of a business as we could.
Went through 100%.
Went through, did all the paperwork,
100%.
Filed the right paperwork with
100%.
with the county, like you're supposed to. Used an attorney to be able to build the paper. I mean, so all of that process did occur, right? So with all of that, I think that the first deal, everyone's scared shitless, right? I mean, everyone's just scared as shit. How are you supposed to do this, right?
Well, I got you that fucking money back in like 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, that also happened a lot faster than I expected because we had originally talked about 6 months.
Because I'm a monster, bro.
Yeah, we had talked about 6 months. But yeah, so we had talked about 6 months. But, you know, again, this was something that, that leap of faith, I think, was the biggest hurdle for me to get over. Yeah. Right? But since then, by doing this, that same 55 has been recycled like 3 or 4 times already, and that's made 16,000.
So
that's over the course of 1 year, right? Because now is December and we started last November, so that's over the course of 1 year that has been recycled up until this point.
So can I ask you a question? Have you ever made $16,000 by doing nothing practically?
I mean, no. I mean,
Thank you.
It's a
setup question.
It is a setup question.
On
it is
purpose,
a setup
bro.
question.
The point of that question.
But I think you should focus on what does $16,000 mean.
Yeah,
it's a
twofold.
On, right?
It's a twofold, right? Well, that's what I could say. The point of that question, the money's great, right? Fantastic. But man, $16,000 he made by, I don't know, what'd you spend, like 10 hours total?
Yeah.
Like through all the deals, vetting it? Like you didn't spend hours and hours, like, right? You
No.
So let's just say you spent
that we had and all that
10
stuff.
hours on those deals, $16K. What would you say an average vacation is for a person? Let's just say they want to go to Disney with their family. 10 G's?
Yeah. Well, yours has family at least, right?
Yeah, I spent more than that, bro. Yeah. You can blame my wife. That's different. That's a different.
Or go to Indonesia for like 8.
But guys, think about that. You just invested for a year and paid off an entire trip for your family that you can create memories and have time back to do those things, right? That is the power of investing. You don't have to be a full-time investor, like go find the deal, go talk to the sellers, go do contracts. You don't have to do any of that.
Or take on some of the risks that comes along with the stock. I mean, we just saw what happened with the stock market
investing
recently.
in other things.
Right, I mean,
unstable.
You have, we didn't really focus on this, but collateral. I mean, we talked about it.
The collateral is the position, right? We talked the position.
Yeah.
That's the position. I mean, and listen, it's only
just
so
collateral
much.
doesn't exist very much so in other spaces.
No. Collateral essentially means how is your money protected if something goes south? if the piss poor investor doesn't perform. The collateral is the house, right? So you're gonna do documentation that says, hey, if you don't perform the way you say you are going to, I'm going to take this house from you by means of foreclosure or whatever documentation your attorney does. That's the house is the collateral or the asset, the multifamily building, the storage facility, whatever, etc. Right? That's kind of that's the collateral.
Yeah.
But yo, like we've talked a lot about the good stuff. I gotta ask you, man. How is your shitty ass deal going, bro? How much did you invest?
60.
Okay. How much interest were you gonna get off that 60?
15%.
15.
In 6 months.
I'm not a math wizard, but I'll pull out my.
It's about 9.
Calculate. 15. 9 G's.
9
well,
grand.
you know, this guy's been to school so much, he should be able to do that kind of math. So he would have made
I
9
just know the deal
G's
went up.
in 6 months. Have you received your principal and interest back?
I have not.
And how many months overdue is it?
6 months.
So this guy, would you say that this kind of comes down to vetting the investor? Did you ask? Let me ask you a question. Did you ask for ALTA statement?
I did not.
Error number 1. Did you go to any jobs that he was doing that you seen him perform?
This particular investor was in Florida, so I did not see any particular.
Error number 2. Okay. Did you hire an attorney to do the documentation?
No.
Error number 3. Guys, the things that I've just talked to you about, this is the reason why it's so important. Is this deal, is your deal still ongoing?
Yes.
Is it still
Yeah,
open?
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So it's still open.
It will come to a resolution. And then this is where, I mean, we can certainly talk about this and kind of follow up again on what's happening, but it will
So
come
like
to
this
a
is
resolution.
like nobody wants to invest 60 G's that they've bust their butt for and not have a light at the end of the tunnel, man. Like, listen, you're family to me, bro. I feel kind of shitty for you, bro. Like,
yeah.
I've probably returned back to you like 5 times that over and over.
By this point, yeah.
Yeah, like
by this point, yeah.
So, note to investors who's listening: do what you're going to say. Like, just do it. Like, if you say something, just do it. Don't, like, I don't care if you lose your own house. Here's the advice I would give to investors. Everybody in life has cloudy days and sunny days. If you can weather the storm during the cloudy days, if that means that you have to get the shirt off your back to ensure you repay the investors, when you get to sunny days, you'll be able to ask for that much more and some more from your investors, because they're going to see you as like, man,
not only reputable, right?
Exactly.
Now
integrity.
that this integrity has compounded into the next.
Compounded. Such a great word, man. Like, now you've built up a level of performance. In his situation that he's in right now, he does not have a level of performance built up. And listen, I'm hoping he gets his money back. But the reality
I will.
He will get, like, he's gonna get his money back, but he's gonna have to file. He's gonna have to get an attorney. He's gonna have to file court cases. Like the things that you want to avoid, he's going to have to do.
And I don't mind sharing. I don't mind sharing those things as we go along too. If that helps people
absolutely, man,
learn or
100%.
understand more about, how to handle that if that does happen, right? I mean, not that you ever want that to happen.
The likely scenario's probably going to happen, bro. Like,
what?
I know the deal. I know the ins and outs because it's still open. We can't drop names. We can't drop properties. This and that.
Yeah.
Probably do another show for it. But yeah, you're pretty much headed down that pathway, bro.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest. I don't know. I know from a documentation perspective what it looks like, but I am so glad and grateful to say I've never been through it because I perform. I do what I say. Am I right or wrong?
No, you
100%.
do. And I've never had that experience with you.
I vet the deals, man. I 100%. Never fall in love with a deal, man. Like, deals come and go. Like, you just don't put yourself where you can make a piss, going in, like, it's super risky and it's a piss poor decision. Just don't let over leverage for the hopes of doing a deal. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do that. But
yeah. No, I mean, and with that, I knew where I was at that moment to say, yes, I feel comfortable doing this.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's put me out on the street. I mean, I wouldn't make a decision like that based on...
Trust me, he's not on the street.
This
guy's got a golf simulator in his apartment complex.
Yeah.
And I've been there. So, no, he's good.
Yeah.
But listen, nobody wants to lose 60 G's, man. Like, you know, doesn't matter how much you make, you worked for it. Like, you should have pride in the work ethic as he does, you know? Like,
it's just, yeah, I mean...
It's integrity, man. Like,
it's something that's, as we go along, I have no problem sharing how these things come.
Would you ever reinvest with this person again?
No, God, no.
See?
No.
Like, this person lost...
they lost a community. That's the thing, right?
Man, bro, I didn't even think of it like that,
They lost a community.
Because, that's some good shit right there.
They lost a community. And not because I don't want to turn this is not meant to be some trash talking. This is again.
No, we're not dropping names or anything.
Creating education or information for people. They lost a community because this age of social media, this age of going and networking with people, that is everything, right? I mean, your integrity means a lot in this space. Your integrity means almost everything, right? I mean, that's why there are companies that have very clear visions of what they're doing, whether they're eco-friendly or this, that, or the other. There are reasons as to why you choose to buy their product or invest with them or whatever, because they have some level of integrity amongst the community. But when something like this occurs or when something like this happens, you can lose a community very easily because that integrity is broken. And for you, it's trust, right? I mean, I forgot. There's an analogy for that, but if anyone remembers it, or if anyone knows that analogy about trust and how fragile it is, please enter it in comments below.
Thank you.
There's so much that goes along with that once it's broken, it really is hard to put back together.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Which is why, I mean, at the end of the day, if I've vetted, you know, this is where I think education comes up. I think this is where we choose. That's why this is where, you know, and I had a pretty trustworthy relationship with this person. It can still happen, but I think that's where we take this perspective of education and documentation, the business aspect of it, and you really focus on that.
Let me ask you, what would you
do different?
Yeah, what would you do differently?
I think going through asking for the ALTA documents, I think securing my loan, the loan that I've given out is secured. But, you know, I think
getting an attorney probably?
Mm-hmm.
Getting an attorney?
Yeah, I think getting an attorney would be 100%. Helpful. I think I'm not afraid of where I'm at. I think that things are going to play out, and one way or another, I'm going to be fine. It's just going through this process now that's going to be a thing. But
and guys, we're going to document this process, right? Because
this is part of our education.
Some of you may be going through it. Some of you may go through it. And if you do, listen, it's not the end of the world, but at least you'll know
these are the things to look for.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, these costly mistakes, right? I mean, they come up. And if you can at least learn from my situation, then it's something that, you know, if that occurs, if that makes sense for you, if you can learn from it, then that would be where the value is.
Yeah. 100%, man. Yeah. I mean, like, I think that you're gonna have light at the end of the tunnel. 100%.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, this is also the purpose of private lending in real estate or in the real estate space, is that there is collateral, and now you can now the next process will be collateral.
Squeezing the collateral so you can get the money back.
Right, exactly.
That's what it comes down to.
If I put 60 in the stock market and it all tanked like it did over this past weekend, then
it's lost.
You know, I can hold it, and likely it will come back. You never know, right? I mean, there's just no collateral. There's no 100%. Collateral for this.
Yeah, man. So I mean, like, we talked about a decent amount of stuff, man. We talked about your why. We talked about how to protect your money, who to go out and look for to vet the deal or to help you understand the numbers of the deal, like real estate agents. And we talked about, you know, this bad deal that
we might want to come back to that question maybe in a future episode, though. It's just, how do you maximize or leverage people around you?
Yeah,
that might be something we're going to
absolutely
talk about.
Yeah. I mean,
because the reality is that we all will never know everything. I mean, it's just the reality of it, right?
So networking, man.
How do you network, or how do you leverage with other people to be able to understand X, Y, and Z about something? That's something that I think would be useful in the future.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, guys, we're gonna be hosting a webinar weekly. The aim, goal, the initiative is to educate. The empowering comes from seeing what we're doing and getting involved. And I'm not saying, hey, you have to jump right away. Learn, understand the dynamics, reach out.
I mean, we can even help you vet deals, right? That you might have offers
100%, man.
Right? I mean, that might
we'll connect you to local people in your markets where you live, right? Like, it doesn't have to be where we live. It could be anywhere. Like, we're integrated enough in the
community,
economy of real estate to, hey, if
reach
somebody
out to
reaches
this person,
out, California, oh, here, you want to talk to this person. They'll help you analyze this deal, make sure your money's protected, so on and so forth, man.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's almost like everyone that's listening or whoever has access to our network, right?
100%,
essentially, right?
100%.
I mean, it's something that you can say, hey,
our network is your network,
right? I mean, that's the whole point.
We do not believe in like, hey, you know, we're gonna hold this little secret back, because you know why? If I gave the tips and tricks and tools to the game to 100 people, maybe 1 or 2 people are gonna do something with it. That's just a reality, and the reality of it is because of the concept of fear.
Yeah.
People, like, he'll tell you, man, the concept is this: take flight, build the plane in the air so that it can sustain. You're not gonna have all the answers. And if you always wait around for the answers, you're not gonna go forward. So get as much education as you can and then go forward. When you have a built up enough relationship and a trust, go forward. But bro, what would be like a message, like a final word that you would give to people who are looking to invest, man? Get in the game.
I think it would come down to the one piece of action that I would say, if this is something that interests you, is to start putting yourself around people in that space. So what can you do is, if you feel as though you're someone who would like to lend out to others, or you want to learn about real estate, whatever, there are local RIA groups, Real Estate Investment Association groups everywhere, right? We have one, SJ RIA, which is South Jersey Real Estate Investment Association.
Yeah.
You can connect on there, right? You can connect with local people in your market. You can connect with people online, right? You can certainly send messages to either Amit or myself, and we'd be happy to try and help you or navigate you to the right direction. Like we said, if you want to consider a deal and you're not sure about whether you should or not, then we can help you with that. I think the first thing, and I mean, I think that this term is overplayed, but it always ends up being the answer, is that, like, don't overthink. Take action and at least just make connections, right? You're not spending any money by making connections. Make those connections and find out what people are looking to do, and then find out if it aligns with what your values are.
100%,
and
100%.
Move forward with that, right?
Value is key, bro. Like,
understand your values, and then understand if someone else's values align with yours, and find out how you may be able to bring value. If you're not in the private investor phase or the private lending phase, if you're in the learning phase or the growing phase, line yourself up with somebody else who can help you with these things.
Yeah, man.
Right? I mean, you know, people, like I said, generally, people are very willing to help. I mean, it's just kind of I mean, you know, I've been in this for 2 years, and people are generally in the space of, hey, if I can help you, then I'll help you. I mean, it's no sweat off my back to try and help you with something.
Exactly, man.
So, I mean, just go out there. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Even if it's something, if there's a chance that you're going to meet one person once, just ask the question. The worst thing that they can do is not answer the question or say no. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You asked what you needed to in order to be able to get that point across. So
100%, bro.
That, I know I said a lot in that one sentence, but I think that, you know, just going out and at least understanding what your values are, and then taking some level of action, meaning just interacting with people. It doesn't cost anything to interact with people, to at least better focus or understand, you know, what your goals might be or what they might turn into. You don't have to have an exact answer as to how everything works.
Yeah, man.
And you may never get that.
For sure.
But just start understanding. By taking one step at a time, you can start asking yourself the right questions and answering those questions appropriately.
Yeah, man.
Right?
I appreciate that, bro. Yo, where can people find you, bro? You got any Facebook profile, Instagram, TikTok? Like, what? You drop the handle, bro. Where you got?
Yeah. So you guys can connect with me at DMD2Free, at DMD2Free on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can just search my name, Raj Darji. You guys can connect with me wherever. You can even send me emails. You can send me an email at cuspoftomorrow, CUSPOFTOMORROW@gmail.com. Send me a message or send me an email.
I'll drop the details in the description.
Send me a question, send me an email, whatever you want. If you want to connect with me personally, you know,
ask questions, reach out, don't hesitate. He's a actual
I will answer
person.
it. I promise I will be the one answering that.
Yeah,
for
he's
you.
actually
Reach out.
invested.
I have no problem. And like I said, there are things that are personally happening to me that I'm willing to try and put out onto into the education space so that we can all learn and hopefully vet out those investors that are not performing and go with ones that are, because we all want some level of security.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But yeah, I mean, this is something that it's not easy, right? I mean, it's not easy to talk about, but I think it's something that, for the sake of the value of education for the community, for the Darji community here, putting this out here is at least worth that.
Yeah, man. Listen, bro, appreciate you coming on, bro.
Oh, I appreciate you having me.
You know what I mean? Listen, guys, if you are finding value, please hit the subscribe button so you get notifications when this episode's dropping and future episodes.
Yeah, where do they follow you at?
I got Amit_H Darji. That's all my handles across the board. Facebook is just Amit Darji.
Yeah.
So you can see me on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. That's a whole other episode. Way underutilized. But yeah, guys, if you liked, please hit the like button. I mean, it only helps the algorithm, like just being honest with you guys, right? But no, we're
if you found any value in it,
yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah,
Ask
or share it with other people.
And put
right?
comments. Like, if you have any questions or anything, just ask. We're open book. We have nothing to hide. We'll share with you, man. But yo, appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
See you guys next time on the next episode.
I look forward to seeing you guys some more. But reach out to us at any point whenever it makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Take care, guys.
Bye.